Good evening. Today is Wednesday, May the 12th, and it's a belated Happy Mother's Day. I want to say that to all of the mothers, all the moms out there. Happy Mother's Day. Happy belated Mother's Day to you. And challenge the fathers to be sensitive and kind to your wife, to your mothers, children, especially. Be mindful and be considerate of your mothers. My mother is in a nursing facility, and I can't visit her. And I think this coronavirus is helping us to put a lot of things in perspective. And it's certainly helped me to understand, the things that matter in life. We take for granted, often take for granted. Please don't take your mother for granted. I wanted to quote some sayings, some heartfelt sayings about mothers. You know, sometimes our mind goes blank whenever we want to try and say something that would really impact those that we're speaking to. Our mind sort of goes blank. But I looked at some sayings that J.K. Rowling had put together, and she writes one that was written by Rumi: "We are born of love, love is our mother." Jodi Picoult: "The best place to cry is on mother's arms." William Thackeray: "Mother is the name for God in the lips and hearts of little people." I like that one. Life doesn't come with a manual, it comes with a mother. That one is unknown. Mitch Albom: "When you look into your mother's eyes, you know that it is the purest love you can find on earth." Victor Hugo said, "A mother's arms are made of tenderness, and children sleep soundly on them." Cardinal Mimaldi: "A mother is she who can take the place of all others, but whose place no one else can take." Mothers hold their children's hands for a short while, but their hearts forever. That one also, the author is unknown. Well, there are just so many wise sayings about mothers and from mothers. But the one that I want to read to you today is one that we often overlook. We read Proverbs 31 and we attribute it to Solomon, and we overlook the fact that verse 1 in Proverbs 31 says this: "The words of King Lemuel, the utterance which his mother taught him," the utterance. that word utterance, as it is used here, is a word that often ascribed to prophets whenever they have a heavy burden on their heart that God has given to them to give to the people. And he utters, he shares this with heaviness of heart. And that is the word that is used here in this mother's teaching. And the word Lemuel is a word that we have no other reference in the Bible to tell us who it means. But in reading ancient Jewish teachings, it identifies Lemuel as King Solomon. So here, as King Solomon writes this last chapter in the book of Wise Sayings, he writes what his mother taught him. And he understood the heaviness of his mother's heart as she taught him this. This last chapter concludes with two poems. The first poem is in verses 2 through 9, and it's about the wise king. The second poem is about the excellent wife, and it's in verses 10 through 31. Both are the teachings of a godly mother. The first poem is addressed to the godly king. And it's told his reign should be characterized by three things. By holiness in verse 3, by sobriety in verses 4 through 7, and in compassion in verses 8 through 9. Now in verse 3, she tells him not to spend his life on strange women. Verses 4 through 7, she tells him to be aware of strong drink. As king, he needs to be sober. He needs to have a clear mind. He's got to make decisions dealing with people's lives. And in verses 8 through 9, she tells him that he needs to be compassionate to people. He needs to he is warned against the vices which kings are particularly susceptible to, that of immorality, overindulgence, unrighteous rule, and indifference to those of need or in need. Now, if we didn't know any better, we'd think we were listening to someone talking to a modern day candidate about to run for higher office. And certainly in the days in which we live. This poem offers a beautiful description. The second poem offers a beautiful description of the virtuous woman or the excellent wife by a mother and a wife. Remember, King Solomon's mother taught him what he's writing. He didn't have too much to say about himself, but what he did say was precise, and it would do us all good to read and adhere to it. But this second poem, he writes about the virtuous woman. He writes, first of all, in verses 10 through 12, about her marriage. In verse 10, who can find a virtuous woman? She does exist, but very hard to find. In chapter 18, in verse 22, he who finds a wife finds a good thing. In Ruth chapter 3 and verse 11, Boaz says to Ruth, for all the people of my town know you are a virtuous woman. Verse 11 and verse 12, not only does it talk about the woman that has been found, but it talks about how that her husband can safely trust in her in verse 11. And in verse 12, how that she will do him good all of his life. This section, verses 10 through 12, is her marriage. Sections in verses 13 through verse 24, this section describes her behavior. Her behavior is that of a woman that knows how to take care of her household. She is resourceful. She's entrepreneurial. She's a wise investor. Such women were not soft, but by virtue of rigorous work, they were strong. She planted and worked the vineyard during the day and worked late at night. Her lamp does not go out by the night. She rose up early before dawn. This is her behavior. Not that of a woman who just sits back and because she has attained a degree in life and waits for everyone else to do things for her. No, this is a woman that takes care of the poor, takes care of her own household, takes care of her husband, takes care of herself, makes jobs for everyone else by her entrepreneurship. Even the merchants prosper at her behavior. Verses 25 through verse 27, this section emphasizes her character. Verse 25 says, strength and honor. These words describe the character of the woman who fears the Lord. Her character is defined not by uh, her social standings, not by the boards that she sits on, but by her fear and admonition of the Lord, by the love and respect that she has for her husband and her community. Her character. Verses 28 and 29, this section describes her family life. In verses 28 and 29, I want to turn there and read that. Her children rise up and call her blessed, her husband also, and he praises her. Many daughters have done well, but you excellest them all. I used that passage of scripture whenever Miss Rosette Locklear passed. And I used that. Miss Rosette was not one of the greatest generation that Tom Brokaw talks about, even though I was blessed to pastor a great number of those women when I first went to Island Grove. Miss Dovey Locklear, Miss Rosette's mother-in-law, Miss Flossie Chavas, Miss Virgie Locklear, Miss Raina Bullitt. I could go on and on. There are just so many. And I was blessed to get to know and be taught by those blessed ladies. But Miss Rosette, who was another product of that generation, I think was the epitome of a godly woman who learned the headship of the Lord, how it was taught, how it was to be in the church, how it was to be in the home, in the family. Her husband calleth her blessed and praises her. Whenever we think about her family life, and the last thing is that of her spiritual life. Verses 30 and verse 31, charm is deceitful, and beauty is passing away or vain. But a woman who fears the Lord, she shall be praised. Give her of the fruits of her hands, and let her own works praise her in the gates. I have been blessed, as I said. I was blessed to have the blessings of so many of the ladies of Island Grove just given and passed on to me. Sister Florence Bryant and those ladies that quilted. I've got gifts now, quilt beside my bed on a quilting table that I wouldn't take $1,000 for. There have been ladies in my life that have blessed me, and for that I say Happy Mother's Day. My mama My grandmother, those of you that know me, when I say mama, you know who I'm talking about. I just said my mother's in a nursing home. I can't visit her, but my mama, who raised me, one of the wisest women I ever knew. My blessed sweet wife. God blessed me with an excellent wife. Her mother, Miss Annie Dow. My stepmother, Miss Carlene Jones. My wife's grandmother, Granny Maggie Locklear Dow. I have been blessed with women in my life. And I say, Happy Mother's Day to all of you. May God bless you. And fathers, children, don't take mothers for granted. God bless you.